Gun safes, as Tom from Weapons Education would say. He made the two best videos, or actually the three best videos on gun safes that I've seen. The first one he did in 2011 and the next one he did in 2015. The one in 2011 was at C&E Safes. The owner, Kurt, took him around there, explained all kinds of different types of safes to him, and was really quite the definitive video on gun safes. And then in 2015, he did another one on Tony from Vault Pro, and that was truly the definitive video on gun safes. And after seeing that video, I called Tony in Santa Fe Springs, and his website is listed below. And he talked to me for about an hour and we discussed gun safes, and I got a Vault Pro safe. This is the American Eagle safe. It's 6 feet tall, 5 feet wide, and 33 inches deep on the outside. He's got three different types of safes. He's got the Silver Eagle, the Golden Eagle, and then the top of the line, the American Eagle. This one has, not this one, but the American Eagle's got a 1/4 inch body, 1/4 inch door plate on the outside, 1/4 inch plate on the inside, 2300 degree fire liner, 3 layers of fireboard, and bulletproof safe all the way. This one is a little different. I designed it myself, which, as Tom at Weapons Education said, they're all custom. You can design them any way you want. You can get 2 layers of fire liner. You can get an interior steel liner. You can get a thicker door, any color paint combination you'd like, and it's just the definitive safe that there is. Fort Knox has got the similar size safe, but it costs twice as much. It's a $21,000 safe. And the thing about Tony's safes is the way he fits the door on these things, you really can't get a dime in there, and that's 90% of the battle when it comes to gun safes. If you can't get a pry bar in here, there's no way that you can pop this door or work on this door from the front. All the gun safes that I'm going to list in the bottom of this video, after watching every gun safe video on YouTube, these are the ones that were the most interesting. And if you look at every last one of those gun safes and look at the gap that they have between the body and the door, that's the biggest problem with the gun safes out there. They have a gap large enough to get a pry bar in. And so once you've tackled that, you've handled 90% of the problem. The other thing I learned about gun safes, some of the guys do videos about Cannon gun safes, about Winchester gun safes, which are they're the bottom, of the barrel gun safe, $400 or $500. Some of them are $1,000, but they usually have a 12 gauge body or less, and the doors are 11 gauge. They've got 1 layer of fireboard. They have fire ratings on them that won't stop a cigarette lighter. They're going, an hour at 1200 degrees. The average house fire is an hour at 1380, and I don't believe that these, gun safes will hold up to even that type of heat. And there's one video on there where the guy has a Canon safe and the door's wiggling on it, and he takes a screwdriver and bends the side of the safe out to stop the door from wiggling. So the biggest thing I learned from all these safe videos is if you want to accomplish your two goals, which is to stop a burglar from breaking in before the police get there, or stop a fire from burning your precious valuables or your keepsakes, if you buy one of those lower end safes for $400 to $1,000, Canon, Winchester, even Liberty, I throw into that pot, you're only going to have a probability of accomplishing your goal of about 10%. If you add another $600, $700 to that safe, the probability of you accomplishing those two goals probably goes up to 60, 70%. So I don't understand why you would throw your money away on something that's only going to give you a 10% probability of protecting your valuables. Now, the thing about the safes also that I learned with all these videos is the exterior hinges are very important, because when you have a safe with interior hinges, they have to cut out part of the fire liner here, and that weakens the resistance to fire. Plus the door only opens 90 degrees. This door opens 180 degrees. So having the interior hinges are doing absolutely nothing for you. I'll open this thing up. And we'll talk about the size of the bolts. They do a lot of talking about the size of the bolts. That is important, but it's not that important. But these are 2.5 inch or 1.5 inch bolts. But what is important is around the bolts, most of these safes you'll notice have a plastic or rubber gasket, because they don't want to take the time to do a precision hole where the bolt will fit just against the steel. And a lot of times those gaskets will deteriorate or fall out, and sometimes the bolts will hang up behind the steel body because there's no more gasket there. So that's another thing to look for. Relockers behind the dial are important. This one's got 4 relockers and another one inside the dial lock, so if somebody tries to punch the lock off the safe, the relockers deploy and then they can't get in. 4-way bolts, also very important. If you cut the hinges off the safe, you can't get the door off. And having no less than 10 gauge steel on the body and the door is also important, because there's a video which I'm going to include where a guy's taking a fire axe and he's hitting 12 gauge steel, or I'm sorry, 11 gauge steel, and he's just taking that pointy end of the fire axe and just putting it through the thing like it was nothing. It took him about 10 hits to get down to the fireboard, and it wouldn't have taken him much longer to get through the side of the safe. So another thing that you need to think about is that when you have fireboard, it's about 20 to 30% water, and the way it works is when the heat gets up to 212 degrees, the fireboard starts releasing steam. And if you don't get a steel inner liner inside of your safe, that steam is going to be released into your safe, and it's going to damage your photos, guns, hard drives, anything that you have in there. Is just superheated steam, and it's going to damage everything. There's a video where I think it was Liberty Safe does a fire test on their safe, and then they open it up and they say, oh, see, the dollars and the money we put in here is still all intact, but it's all wet, soggy, and it's brown from where the steam hit it. So getting an interior steel liner is very important. That's one thing about the American security safes. They, on the upper end of those safes, they automatically put in a steel liner because they pour in a cement compound made of diatomaceous earth and vermiculite, which I'll get into, and then they put the safe into a furnace and harden that. But they need to have the inner liner in order to keep that concrete product in there. And C-rate fireboard, as opposed, I didn't mention X-rate fireboard, but X-rate fireboard is what 90% of the safe manufacturers use, and it's a gypsum fireboard. It's used in the walls of homes. C-rate fireboard is stronger than X-rate fireboard. It has more fiber in it. They use it for the ceilings in homes because it won't collapse as fast as the X-rate fireboard. And it's got vermiculite in it, which is a substance that holds the fireboard together and lets it expand instead of collapse when the water is released out of it. So the C-rate is, for my money, is a better way to go on the fireboard for these safes. You always have to remember to bolt down your safe, or somebody would tip it over and start working on it while it's laying down with a pry bar. This interior gray liner is called Rontex, and nobody's ever mentioned it before, but I called the company and just to see where it starts to melt, and it melts at about 490 degrees, so I don't think that will be much of a problem, but just for your information, where it starts to melt. I'm including some videos about the manual lock as opposed to the push-button key lock. There's one video where it talks about the guarantee, the warranty on these, and the push-button lock had a 2-year warranty, and the manual lock had a 5-year warranty. So there's another video where a locksmith is talking about having a box of the push-button locks in the back room that he's had to replace that have all failed. And he says that these never fail. These go on for 30 years because they're all manual. Plus, I would imagine after you punch the buttons for a while, you'll get a fingerprint on the button and they'll start wearing out. So you'll have 6 buttons that somebody would know that that's your combination, whether that makes any difference or not. But I would certainly just get the manual lock. And on the what I think is the level of safes from worst to best, this is just my opinion, but I think Cannon and Winchester are probably the worst safes. Liberty comes next. Champion, who is also makes Superior, would come next. They have some pretty decent doors on those. American Security, because of their cement liner and also their steel inner liner. Then Fort Knox, purely for the reason that you can design your own safe and build it however you might want it. Plus Fort Knox also uses C-rate fireboard, which is another video I'll include. But if you look at the Fort Knox safes, there's a lot of them with internal hinges, and if you look at the gap between the door and the body, there's just no comparison to this. And then VaultPro, which is the top of the line. You know, this is a $10,000 safe, but VaultPro's got 5-foot tall safes by 25 inches wide, 25 inches deep, that are built just like this, that are $1,600. And why not go that route? You know, there's a lot of safes that the Safe House, which has got excellent videos on there, which I'll include as well, down in Tennessee, he says the first thing you ought to do in a safe is get one that's bigger than you need. Well, okay, yeah, so you'll grow into it. But for my money, the first thing that you should think about in a safe is get one, no matter if it's smaller than what you need, but get one that's going to do the job that you're buying it for, which is fire and burglary. If you got a big old safe, and as I say, it's only got a 10% probability of doing the job, then it's no good anyway. So that's, you know, that's my opinion anyway. So I'm going to include all these videos at the bottom, and here is the VaultPro, as I say, which has the polysol gaskets. It's a 2-step door, which is another layer of protection against prying. And I think that that's pretty much it. And I hope that this was helpful, but I wanted to get it out there and see what you think. So anyway, one more thing which I forgot was I just wanted to show you how Tony down there at VaultPro in Santa Fe Springs does these gun hangers on the back of the door. These are all welded in. They're all coated with rubber, and I think they're just a very elegant way to put guns on the back of the door. You see so many of these safes that have these polyester and nylon holsters, and then you see all these tiny little pouches that, for the life of me, I can't think of anything that I would ever put in those tiny little pouches. At least this makes maximum use of the space. You can get up to 30 guns on this door if you wanted to. And those little polyester pouches and all those magazine holders and all that stuff, this is high dollar real estate to me. And storing magazines in here is not a good use of space. Storing whatever goes in those little pouches is not a good use of space as far as I'm concerned. But you know, this is much more elegant, and that's what you get. You also get the interior lighting here. He does the interior lighting. This is a 3/4 inch reinforced door frame here, so anybody who wants to pry that door off. Well, no, number one, they can't do it. Number two, this is a very sturdy door. And then the interior, you can set up any way you want. Beautiful interior. These things are wrapped with this Rontex all around, and very nice, very beautifully done. So anyway, I just forgot to say that, and hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and share.